you're moving from place to place, place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to Youth Wednesdays here on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. We would have recently celebrated International Men's Day, and this morning we're speaking with two gentlemen, Mr. Ted Jones and Mr. Browne. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself and the capacity you're operating in this morning. We'll start with you, Mr. Browne.
Yes. All right. Yes. I'm Mr. Browne. I guess I wear a few hats. All right. I'm a coach. I am a businessman. I am a father. I'm a husband. I am a Christian. I'm involved in music. I'm involved in several things.
Okay.
Yes.
And you, Mr. Jones?
In the context of International Men's Day, I'm definitely a member of the committee. My name is Ted Jones, also businessman into music and that kind of thing. But primarily in terms of the International Men's Day, I'm definitely one of the regional coordinator, one of the members of that committee, and also the chair of the business section of the International Men's Day Regional Conference. Primarily what we're here to do is basically in that sense to bring that report back in terms of the success of it as we saw it, and to also celebrate one of the awardees, one of the regional awardees, coming out of that massive conference.
Okay, so from my understanding, Mr. Browne, you were selected to represent Tobago, and Mr. Jones, you are on the committee.
Yes.
So you probably have a better understanding of the conference itself and what it entails. So give the viewers, a little insight as to what the International Men's Day Conference would have looked like.
Okay, first and foremost, it's basically a spin-off of what we know as International Men's Day. International Men's Day is a brainchild and actually the baby of a Dr. Jerome Tillotson, who over the past 24 years has been trying to champion the cause of an International Men's Day to be recognized worldwide. Unfortunately, you know that there are a lot of other things that get recognized. We men and boys tend to not somehow fall into that category of needing recognition. So over the past few years, he has been championing the cause, and finally, we have just over a couple of years ago, we have now actually been able to be given that particular day, which is November 19th, as International Men's Day. But because of the amount of issues that we obviously have to bring that men have and that kind of thing, which we have been able to ventilate here in the past, we needed something more than just the recognition of the day as a regular day. But what we decided to do is now bring it into a regional conference where we actually now have conference leaders of governments, heads of governments, for example, being able to merge together in one place so that the concerns of men and boys become something that is so entrenched in terms of our societies, so that the regional heads at least will not be able to deny necessarily the move to help our young people, to help us especially in that way.
Mr. Browne, you were selected to represent Tobago this year. Have you been to previous conferences? Was this your first conference? And if it was your first conference, how have you celebrated International Men's Day in past years?
Let me be very honest. I'm not one for acknowledging days and occasions and stuff like that. Where it concerns me being part of this, I was very honored, flattered, and sometimes very embarrassed about receiving this award. All right, because what I do, I definitely did not do it to gain recognition. But it is good to know that people are taking note. So you're not just doing things and it's not affecting anybody, or it's not making an impact on anyone. All right. So the conference itself was very enlightening, very empowering. All right, to know that there are men that are there. Sometimes you have your own little issues, and you think you could selfishly think that your issue is isolated. you know, your challenges are isolated, but it's good to know that there are men across the world, across the Caribbean, that have the same issues, and you know, you go there and you gain strength from their testimonies and to hear people speak and stuff like that, and give you some form of empowerment, you know, to continue doing what you do.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah.
So you spoke about the award. Let's touch on that a little bit. You can see the award here, viewers. He has it on display for us to see. Tell us about it. What did you win the award for?
Well, let me call it the man of based on the document that I got. It's the man of the year, man of excellence, stuff like that. But I think it hinges on community work, community development, and that, I guess that is the bulk of it. You know, work that is being done to enhance the life of young men and, well, I guess people on a whole.
Yes.
All right. So I guess it's along that line I was selected.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but those are things that I've been doing for a while.
Okay.
You know, so.
And you mentioned that it's something that you do. It just became a part of your life. So it's not something that you were doing for the recognition, but it's nice that they would have seen your hard work and reward you for it. And
Yes.
Mr. Jones, you said it's an international conference, and you mentioned it being
Right. A
Very-
regional conference.
regional conference.
Yes.
Okay, a regional conference. What was the participation like from Tobagonians?
Okay, well, actually, I think that is the delegation from Tobago was pretty strong. Right, I'd say it's definitely one of the stronger delegations that came across to Grenada, and but we did have some very strong representation from a lot of the OECS countries. We also had a strong team from St. Lucia, from Montserrat. So it was the British Virgin Islands, I think. So there were a lot of people there. To go back to the rubric that helped us select him, what we decided to do is that each country would have had its had its own individual highlights in terms of what this person represents to this community. Remember that what we are looking at is how men impact societies, how men impact lives. So when we looked, we gave it to Tobago to look through their men and see who is the best person that they would. That's what we also did to all the other Caribbean countries. So what happens is that the Caribbean countries now looked through their men, as it were, looked at the rubric which we set, and then that now was able to help them pick, you know, different men from the different areas or whatever. So in itself, I'm really happy Browne won it, because there's no doubt, based on what he has been doing. And that was another thing. We also wanted to ensure that most of the men would not necessarily be people who are out front, who were politicians, who were always in the limelight. They are men, the actual fabric and the pillars of our society are usually men that we don't hear about. The men that don't that don't get the accolades, that don't get the spotlight. So and in all, I think, the Caribbean countries, they were very successful in picking men and boys and organizations that would not necessarily have gotten the spotlight in the past.
Okay, and you mentioned that the conference would have been held in Grenada.
In Grenada, yes. And it's it was actually our first regional conference, so it was significant. And that's why we want to thank the people of Grenada, because the people of Grenada were able to put, actually for the first time in, I think, our history, the world's history, where our government would have put so much monies into an event that had a man's, you know, that was interesting, that was important for men and boys. So you found out that where in the past there's no problem, of course, in doing things for women and girls and that kind of thing, most governments tend to frown, or it's not popular to do something on this magnitude for men and boys. So that's one of the reasons we want to also congratulate the Grenada government for being the lead. And I think because they are the lead, and you asked about the attendance, I would tell you that every single one of the events we had were oversubscribed, including something that we failed our boys in, which is boys in ICT. Right? Because for the past 10 years, we have had programs called Girls in ICT, with the expectation that girls were somehow behind boys in ICT. But when we did the investigation a couple of years ago, we realized that the boys are the ones that are behind in ICT. And when we made this known to people, that listen, we need to do something to bring the boys up, we have been totally ignored. This was the first conference ever in the face of, as far as I know, that focused on boys in ICT. And again, it was something that just, again, another event within the whole context of the conference that was fantastically subscribed. And so from that perspective, we're really, really, really pleased of the turnout and that kind of thing. We seem to have hit a vein, right? And, you know, our men were overjoyed.
Right. So, Mr. Browne, tell us about your experience at the conference, because this would have been your first conference.
Yes.
You know, not only the experience winning the award and all of that, but, you know, the camaraderie and being able to be there with all the men and the boys, all of that support. What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was good. That was good. All right. Like Mr. Jones said, you know, you're getting mingle with guys from different islands and, you know, of course, different cultures and stuff like that. One of the things that stood out to me is when we went out on the road and we had to go to this rehabilitation center. I can't remember exactly, in a place called Bacalet. All right. And we got to interact with some boys that were there in a home. And
So,
I think it's something that we can copy, all right? Because sometimes I try to learn as much as possible and see where we can bring different cultures, positive things back into our own space. And, you know, I was really, really taken aback by how they set it up, the housing, the grounds where they have people planting. And so even though you might call them troublesome boys, they are not looked down. You know, you're not looking down at them. You know, you still have them trying to integrate them back into society by how you teach them and how they you know, different school, you know, academics and agriculture and, you know, all that. So, you know, so that was one of the main things for me. And then hearing, like I said, hearing some of the testimonies, just meeting the guy in the corridor and, hey, how are you? You know, and what brings you here and where you from, and hearing different stories. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways for me.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Jones and Mr. Browne, we want to
Yes.
thank you so much for coming and chatting with us this
Yes.
morning. I think it's a very inspiring thing that you all are
Yes.
doing, and I must say, congratulations to you, Mr. Browne, on the
Thank you.
award that you would have received. Continue to do the excellent work that you are doing.
Thank you.
Viewers, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to be chatting with Tabitha's home, and we're going to be talking about their benefit dinner and auction. So stay tuned and remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.